Hello and welcome to King's Research Podcast, your go-to source for market intelligence. Our conversations are backed by cutting-edge research and deep market expertise, guiding you through emerging opportunities and disruptions that impact your business.
Welcome to this episode where we explore what's trending, what's impacting, and what's propelling revenue in your market growth. This series is brought to you by King's Research, the powerhouse behind market-shaping insights for industry leaders across the globe. With insights over 30,000 high-growth markets and collective wisdom of 850 experts, King's Research is a secret weapon to stay ahead of the curve. My name is Nikhil and I welcome you all for today's episode. And we are honored to have Jeff Horsnell with us for today for the podcast. Welcome, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeff. We are excited to have you today. Jeff has 25 years of experience in the telecoms and data center market. He's a seasoned sales professional known for his result-driven approach. He has led major initiatives like pan-European fiber networks and multi-megawatt data centers. His career spans over key roles in top companies like NTT, Digital Realty, Equinix. Currently, as the Regional Director of Business Development at Delska, he's scaling Delska's data centers across Europe by leveraging strategic partnerships and key focus on renewable energy solutions. Welcome to our podcast, Jeff. We're honored to have you today.
Thanks, Nikhil. It's great to be chatting to you.
Now, I would like to hand over the stage to you, Jeff, if there's anything you'd like to add to your introduction that I may have missed.
No, that's a great profile. Thanks. It's a good summary. I've been at Delska for a few months, so it's interesting to sort of understand more about our proposition and to start marketing it and sharing it with the rest of the customers in the data center environment.
So my first question to you, Jeff, is revolving around Delska. The recent merger between DAC and DLC is marking a significant shift in the Northern European data center landscape. So I would like to know, the focus of this recent merger of yours is around sustainability and flexibility. So I would really like to understand that, the recent expansion of Delska, how would it impact the Northern European data center ecosystem? And it would be great if you could focus around the growing demand for AI and high power computing solutions in that region.
Okay, well, thanks for that. If I could just tell you a bit about Delska to start with, just because we've recently restructured and rebranded. So Delska's come about as a combination of DAC in Latvia and DLC in Lithuania. And then we've also brought in together a network from a company called Schedula, so that we've got diverse networks coming from Estonia down to Frankfurt and diversely across via the Nordics. So we've got total connectivity diversely back into Western Europe. And then we've also got a managed services company to help offer cloud services and such. So the full range of data center services. And all of this was brought about by Quero Capital, who's the sort of a large European infrastructure investment fund. And it's brought together all of these companies to form Delska, which we rebranded as a couple of months ago. So now we are the sort of largest data center operator in the Baltics at present, and currently we've got 4 sites, and we're in the process of building a large new one as well. So we'll have another 10 megawatts of space available next year. And as you mentioned, the growth with AI, we are making sure that it's available for AI workloads, so that we can have a combination of liquid and air cooling to make sure it's appropriate for customers with the large AI power requirements that they have. So we are seeing a growth in the market and across Europe as well. So while we just have the data centers in the Baltics, we're seeing that there's a number of customers that don't have presence in the Baltics at present, and we've got a number of interesting conversations with operators that are looking to expand their presence and profile across the whole of EMEA, and the Baltics is one area where they haven't been in the past. So that's where we see a lot of expansion coming from, as well as the inherent Baltic customers.
Oh wow, that's great. I wish Delska a very great success for the future. And you said there's a 10 megawatts data center project coming up by the next year?
Yes, and we do have availability to expand further a couple of years later as well. So we've got available land and power. So there's up to another 50 megawatts of building that we can do in the next 2 to 3 years as well, if demand is looking like it needs it as well.
Definitely. So Jeff, that brings me down to my next question. You have over 25 years of experience in the data center market, right? So you might have witnessed the data center market evolve rapidly over the years because the technology boom is happening at a very rapid scale. So we would really like to hear it from you, Jeff, because the digital infrastructure is a growing demand in the market, right? So how do you see the data center market evolve in the coming years, in the next 5 years, let's say? And are there any specific trends or emerging technologies you believe will significantly influence this sector?
Well, I think that there's two massive trends which are going to dominate it. One is AI, which is dominating everything at present. So with these demands, it seems like average power consumption in a data center goes from 4 or 5 kilowatts per rack, and it will be with AI. It needs to be over 100 kilowatts a rack on for certain with GPU chips and such. So there's a massive requirement for additional power. I've heard, there's certain sites where we're looking at gigawatts of power going to certain sites in the States as well. So I think that the requirement will be for far higher power availability within the data centers. And then that requires a couple of things, a lot more cooling, but obviously renewable power is another major trend. So I think most, lots of data center operators are, saying it's 100% power, but it's making sure that you've got the renewable power in the country, in the area that it can be used. So the Baltics, Latvia especially, is one of the main areas where we do have a lot of focus on wind and solar power. And lots of the wind is sort of coastal in Latvia, and so we are as a country in the process of getting towards 100% renewable power in the next few years. And I think we're very close to the Nordics, which is has been progressing along this path for longer. But I think we're ahead of most of the rest of Europe in terms of being 100% renewable as a source from that side. And so those are obviously the two main trends. And then I think it's a case of trying to have more reusable, trying to use the power again rather than just wasting the heat, pushing it out into the environment. So, the trends will be from an AI perspective is going for a combination of liquid and air cooling in the data centers, and ensuring that it's serviced by renewable power. And there seem to be some of the major cloud providers are looking at the possibility of SMR, small modular reactors. So that's a possibility for the very high power requirements that can go up to 300 megawatts for certain sites. But there's obviously a safety concern with that as a potential solution to their large power requirements.
Thank you so much for your inputs, Jeff. And you have discussed so many different technologies, that the data center market is exploring to innovate their products and offerings to their clients. But there are so many cutting-edge technologies available in the market that helps the system to be stable and reliable. And I guess stability and reliability is what the clients are looking out for when they're looking out for the data center products in the market, right? So I would like to know, basically our audience would like to know from you, Jeff, how do you strike a balance between introducing a cutting-edge technology solution and ensuring stability and reliability that the customers demand in the data centers and the network infrastructure needs of their businesses?
Okay, well, we try and stay very connected with our customers in terms of ensuring we're offering a top service that's 100% reliable for them at all times. And so any new services I think we're obviously in touch with the customers to make sure there's going to be no impact for them at all, other than it's an extension of the service range that we've got, offering more on a cloud service perspective and making it more AI compatible as well. So that's where we've sort of focused, and I think we're very keen to sort of stay close to the customers, ensuring we're complying with whatever they're looking for as well, but trying to lead them in certain cases and make sure that we've got it doesn't impact any of the services that we've already offered from them.
Thanks so much for your inputs, Jeff. So we've been discussing about how data center market is an energy extensive market, and there is an increasing pressure to adopt greener practices for sustainable operations, right? And especially in your area, there's a key focus on these aspects. So meeting growing performance demands is one of the key challenges that our companies are facing today. So our audience would be curious to hear from your perspective how this is basically unfolding for businesses. How are they addressing the growing demand for adopting sustainable energy for high power computing solutions without compromising their performance? So we would like to, hear a little brief from you. Like you already told us that solar, wind is basically the major sources where companies are shifting toward, to supply their needs for the data center energy needs.
I think the Baltics have been ahead of most of the rest of Europe in terms of, the governments have invested in renewable power sources. So definitely sort of coastal wind farms and solar farms. We've also gone a bit further. We're looking to invest in an energy company ourselves so that will sort of give us more flexibility in terms of how we can package commercially what the pricing would be, but also with the sort of offer that it's at 100% renewable power from our own sources. And I don't know that they've been doing that elsewhere across Europe. Obviously, Europe, the rest of FLAP-D countries is having problems. I know Dublin's got the moratorium on additional data centers, and it can't access the grid for more. So I think that some of the more developed Western parts will have sort of challenges until they can increase the amount of renewable power that is generated within the countries, as it takes a long. You can't just set up a wind farm, an offshore wind farm quickly. This is years of planning and implementation. So I think the Baltics is, as I've said, I think we're next highest after the Nordics in terms of percentage of renewable power per head of population as well. So.
Oh, thank you so much for your responses. And you said about the coastal solar farms, right? I'm very intrigued about the topic. So we would like to know, by when do you think the Baltic region will be able to harness 100% energy from the solar coastal farms? Do you have any year approximately by when do you think it will be achievable?
Well, it's being fed into the national grid at present. I think the target is for by between 2028 and 2030 to be 100% renewable power. It will be generated from our solar and wind farms across the Baltics. And there's hydro as well, especially in Latvia. Latvia's got quite a high percentage of hydro power as well.
That's a very ambitious goal out there. So my next question to you is also revolving around sustainability. And you have already spoken how renewable energy is playing a pivotal role in reshaping the data center market. So I would like to ask you, how are the companies in that area receptive towards transforming, their energy sources, like look out for an alternative source like sustainable energy. So how are the companies receptive to, transform to the renewable energy sources, and what are the key challenges, especially SMEs face, to harness energy from these renewable sources? So if you could shed light on that, it will be a great listen to for our audience.
Sure, I think for the SMEs, it's relatively easy to sort of accommodate their requirements. I think it's really for some of the larger customers, such as the hyperscalers, where they are looking for very high power requirements, very specific cooling requirements for it as well. either liquid or a combination of air and liquid cooling. And that's where there's the bigger challenge. And also from their perspective, where they have corporate governance rules in terms of how much of their power they can be consuming that is non-renewable, and therefore they will have requirements of data center providers to ensure that a large percentage of the power that is used there is stated as being renewable. So we're aware of that, but I think we're ahead of the game in terms of the rest of Europe to be have the highest percentage of our power from renewable sources going forward.
So I must say the data center market is witnessing an immense amount of revolution with the adoption of renewable energies. So that brings me down to my next question, how do you see the renewable energy shaping the future of data center market, particularly in your region? And do you see it as a key driver for industry growth or as a competitive advantage that companies will have to embrace and to sell their products and services to their clients, right? So what is your purview on this?
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit of both, and it's going to be, it might be a competitive differentiator, but it's also going to be a fundamental requirement that you will have to have the renewable energy sources, or else the companies won't be able to work with you for corporate governance requirements. So I think in terms of it's the growth, I think the major growth for the data center industry is fundamentally driven by AI and will be for the next few years. And until we see quite how far this sort of wave of increased power requirements for data centers keeps going. But, we're still talking about doubling the amount of data center, the amount of power to data centers being doubled within the next 5 years or so. So that's a very short time scale for a massive amount of growth. So there'll be requirements for, upgrading existing data centers that were offering smaller power requirements to sort of far larger power requirements, probably keen to reuse sites. So you might have logistics and distribution centers where those sites could be reused for data centers. So we're trying to sort of keep buildings more sustainable rather than demolish them and rebuild new sites. So I think those are some of the drivers. But it's fundamentally about AI for the next period, and renewable, having to have a strong renewable story with a high percentage of your power coming from the renewable side.
Thank you so much for your insightful responses, Jeff. I'm sure that our audience is going to learn a lot from your expertise today. So that brings me down to the next question that I have for you, right? Technological and sustainable innovations are crucial, but customer feedbacks, and market insights drive the real change. And especially in a competitive industry like yours, the data center industry, aligning cutting-edge technology with market trends can be a unique challenge to the businesses in the sector. So audience would love to hear it from you, Jeff. How does Delska navigate this balance? How does Delska gather customer feedback and market intelligence to reform its product development and sales strategies? How do you integrate these insights into decision making?
Yeah, it's a great question, and customer feedback's massively important to us because it helps us ensure customer satisfaction and helping develop new products with and ahead of the market as well. So we evaluate customer feedback from all the meetings that we have. We do analyze if there's any lost opportunities that we've had together with the sellers, and reasons why, to make sure we correct that going forward. We do a lot of market research, sending service requests to our customers, and get feedback from our competitors as well, to make sure we analyze market trends. We conduct surveys of existing customers and get customer satisfaction ratings, and we make sure we're always improving on that side. We do special paid market research for implementation of the My Delska platform. So we use that for managing all of our customer implementations. We've done customer survey on our experience of the customer's experience of the platform, and we're also implementing tools to analyze customers' experience of interacting with our website as well. So heat maps to sort of see how long they spend on it, and on our internal tools as well. So we've got and we're currently preparing 2 surveys on the target audience for a view of platforms like My Delska, so that we can improve our value proposition from that side and the customer's user experience of interacting with the platform. So all of the customer experience and customer satisfaction is fundamental to Delska, and we do a lot to sort of proactively and reactively check it, measure it, and feed back into our product development to make sure we're improving the user experience whenever we can.
Thanks so much for your inputs, Jeff. I just want to ask you if you could elaborate more on if you've seen any trends or how the customer preferences have evolved over the years in the data center market, and how have their needs evolved over the years.
Yeah, well, in the Baltics, lots of our customers are looking for more than just the sort of data center services. So quite a lot of our revenue is from our sort of managed services, offering full cloud portfolio. So that's a large increase in the market that we've seen over the last few years. And as we expand outside of the Baltics to sort of customers based in and around the rest of Europe, then that's where we're looking to sort of grow our business and offering a full portfolio of managed services as well as the efficiently run data centers with low PUE and fully sourced by renewable energy. So that's our value proposition.
And as we wrap things up, that brings me down to my next question, Jeff, for you, right? And as we've discussed already, the data center market is competitive, and your company has always been at the forefront in the data center market in your region, at least. So we would like to know, what's your vision for Delska's position? How do you envision Delska's positioning itself in the European or the Baltic region over the next decade, I would say? And what are the key factors that will determine the company's ability to maintain a leadership role in a highly competitive market like yours? And in your opinion, I would like to know, what are your biggest competitors in the market?
Okay. Well, I think from our position over the next few years, I think we're the largest provider in the Baltics for data center and cloud services at present, and we intend to maintain that position with the growth of our with the new data center that we've got coming on board, and with the expansion plans that we have across Latvia and Lithuania. Then we plan to expand and maintain that leadership position from that side. Key factors are, as we've said, having state-of-the-art data centers which are AI compliant from a cooling perspective, and by being fully sourced from a renewable energy perspective. With the new data centers, that will maintain that proposition. And I suppose from we'll try and increase the amount of, and the other renewable factors, we use our generators use HVO oil. So that's, more sustainable than just having pure diesel. So there's lots of areas where we are being as renewable and as high on the sustainability factor as we can. And from the competitor's perspective, I don't want to really spend too much time on the competitors. I'm not as familiar with all of the operators on the Baltic side, so I think that we're keen to be the key player in the market just now, and are investing and growing with the right value proposition, I think, from a competitive price and state-of-the-art data centers, and with a strong renewable energy proposition to try and maintain and grow that position.
Thank you so much for your insights, Jeff. Before we wrap today's episode, I would like to ask you a forward-looking question. How does, according to you, the data center market look like in the future? where do you see, how do you see it growing, right? Like, where do you see the trajectory is headed to? Our audience would like to hear your perspective on, how the market is going to evolve in the coming years.
Yeah, well, I think, as I mentioned before, I think there's various statistics, but I think it's it's not an explosion, but it's a massive increase in growth, and a number of people from AWS and some of the hyperscalers have said we'll need double the data center capacity that we have from a power perspective within the next 5 years. So there's challenges, I think, that the industry has in terms of how we can get as much power as the data center market is going to require, because there are challenges in terms of how long it takes to build renewable solar farms, renewable wind farms, especially offshore wind farms. In the UK, the change of government has made it a key priority to deliver these infrastructure projects to increase the amount of renewable energy. I think, as I said, the Baltics have been doing that for years now, and therefore they'll be closest to 100% renewable quickly. And I think across Europe, there's different tiers of the sort of operators, which is based on the inherent demand that you have from sort of population perspective, but also in terms of the different tiers of where the renewable energy is coming from. So I think there's obviously the flat D is the sort of current tier ones, but there will be sort of tier 2 and tier 3s coming up, which will be growing very quickly as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff. I'm sure our audience is going to get a lot to learn from your experience today and whatever thoughts you've shared with us. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Bye.
That wraps up for today's episode. At King's Research, we are committed to delivering insights that empower you to thrive in high-growth markets. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more expert discussions and data-driven strategies to fuel your growth.